Your program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I'm your host, Sarah Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. What a week. What a week. Yeah, so obviously it's Tuesday. It's kind of weird. It doesn't feel like Tuesday. It feels like Monday because yesterday was kind of it wasn't a day off, but it kind of was. I still worked. I still did a lot of stuff. I actually had dinner with Andrew last night. Andrew from the Jubilee debates was in town, so me and him had dinner for Veterans Day. So yeah, it was a fun time, and so I hope you all had a good Veterans Day yesterday. Thank the veteran. You know, we talk a lot on this show. I'm an anti-war veteran myself. I went to war. And that's actually what made me anti-war. I've seen the hazards up close, and I think the best way to honor our veterans is to not send them overseas to fight and potentially die in other people's wars. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, and then obviously the historic election last week. So we're going to talk quite a bit about that. Obviously, this week, Donald Trump wins the presidency in a historic fashion. Yeah, it won all the swing states and won the popular vote, which I think was all important. Really, I think winning the popular vote was key. I'm really happy that we're not going to hear the whining anymore about about the electoral college and the end of democracy, because democracy, 50%, 51% of the vote went for Donald Trump, and what was it, 68%? So here's the thing: we also don't have to worry about either side claiming that the third parties are the reason they lost, which is interesting because the whole claim that the Libertarian Party is the reason why Donald Trump lost in 2020, and third party voters are the reason why he lost in 2020, is the reason why he came to the Libertarian Party National Convention to speak to libertarians, to try to court libertarians for their vote. And I do think that libertarians were a huge deciding factor when it came to the outcome of this election. I think we're seeing some stuff shape up, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later. We're seeing Trump pick his cabinet members. Some are good so far. One in particular is not very good. But there's some good things and some bad things that are happening right now. So we'll see as we go forward. But we're going to talk, like I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I don't know if you guys have noticed this. The left has kind of been melting down since this election, which is no surprise. They tend to melt down. Actually, that's not what I want to talk about first. So before I kind of get into the political stuff, there is a story that broke just the other day, where it was talking about, it's actually about FEMA. So if you haven't seen this, so we've talked a lot about FEMA. I actually said I think that the FEMA reaction in North Carolina was what caused people to go towards Donald Trump in North Carolina. I truly believe it. Just knowing if it was my home and I felt like nobody was there to help from, that's supposed to be there to help, and it was individuals taking care of individuals like they should be, then I probably wouldn't vote for the who's in office at that time. But This story is out of Florida, actually. So when Hurricane Milton came through, there was a text message that went out to workers, so to FEMA workers who were working in the Milton relief effort, to avoid homes with Trump campaign signs. So basically, don't help people who support Donald Trump. So let me see. We should have the text down here. So the statement says, in this message, it says, implement best practices. No one goes anywhere alone. Avoid homes advertising Trump. Practice de-escalation and preventive measures, communication, all that other stuff. But that second one is pretty big deal. Avoid homes advertising Trump. You're absolutely right. Oro Dor says that's discrimination right there. Yeah, it's discrimination based on political beliefs from a government agency. It is a government agency who put this out. Now, the full statement after this came out is from FEMA. Says FEMA helps all survivors regardless of their political preference or affiliations, and we are deeply disturbed by this employee's actions. While we believe that this is an isolated incident, we have taken measures to remove the employee from their role and are investigating the matter to prevent this from ever happening again. The employee who issued the guidance has no authority and was given no direction to tell teams to avoid these homes, and we are reaching out to the people who may have not been reached as a result of the incident. This is a matter that we take extremely seriously, and we are doing everything we can to make sure survivors receive support from FEMA. To date, we have helped over 365,000 households impacted by Hurricane Helene, Milton in the state of Florida, and have provided over $898 million in direct assistance to survivors. We are horrified that this took place and therefore have taken extreme actions to correct the situation and have ensured that the matter was addressed at all levels. Helping people is what we do best, and our workforce across the agency will continue to serve survivors as long as it takes. So here's one thing. Well, one, if you go back and read my pin tweet, my article that I wrote when I was up there, I didn't see FEMA. They were like a ghost. People had heard that they were there, or I had heard, people I had talked to had seen them, but I didn't see them myself. There's been some people on Twitter posting that they saw, like they received their FEMA declined to pay for like their generator and some of the other stuff that they had lost because of the disasters, and FEMA declined. So there's some of that happening too. Now, just before I came on air, I also saw that the employee that was named has now spoken out as well. I don't have that. I don't have her statement. She is basically using she was just doing what she was told to do. So essentially saying that FEMA's not, that FEMA is lying from, that FEMA's lying in this, that, she was not directed to do this. She's saying that she was. So there's a little bit of he said, she said there. And so this story is going to kind of go, and we'll kind of, I guess, get to the bottom of it, and we'll watch it from here and see where it goes. But this is not a good look, again, from an agency, a federal agency providing relief to all Americans. And again, I don't really think that FEMA has done a great job. I don't think that FEMA is needed. I think that there are I'm a voluntarist, and I think that volunteers can do better. I actually, like I said, when I was up in North Carolina, I actually think that, if our military wasn't serving overseas, that they are better equipped and better trained to be able to handle natural disasters like this. And so, yeah, I think that that's really who should be getting the funding and who should be supporting people in these natural disasters. So, but yeah, so we'll watch this. We'll see what happens. But yeah, moving on. So again, as I was started to say before, when we look at these election results, if you haven't seen, there's a lot of people on the left simply melting down. And I'm probably going to do a deep dive video more into just what we're seeing, the reactions that we're seeing, in more my like a standard straight to camera YouTube video that I normally do when I'm not live streaming. And it's going to be about the reactions that we're seeing. And we're going to talk about them a little bit here though, but one of the biggest things to kind of come out of this is this, fourth wave feminist movement has started to they've really gone down this rabbit hole where they believe that their rights are actually being taken away. The media has pushed them so far that they think that the government and the president is all powerful and can just like enact, sweeping regulations at the stroke of a pen without without congressional assistance. Like I really feel that most of a lot of our country doesn't understand civics. They don't understand how government works. They don't understand that we don't, Donald Trump can't be a king, but they're melting down at this idea. And one of the things is apparently this comes from one of the things that we see from the feminists right now is the 4B movement. And if you haven't looked into the 4B movement, it's a crazy thing. Apparently it started in Korea, and it's a lot of these leftist women are swearing off that they're not gonna sleep with men. They're advocating for, violence towards men. And actually it's a different movement, and I'm gonna highlight this probably more later because I just started learning about this today. But there's this movement of women talking about poisoning their husbands and stuff like that. And so it's really kind of crazy. Now, if you want to learn more about like the 4B movement of itself, I'm going to give a shout out right now to my best friend, Maggie Anders, Liberty Anders on Twitter. But if you go to her channel, Undoctrination Fee at YouTube, she just did a video and put it out a few days ago about the 4D movement and what it is. And go watch that, and you can kind of see the standards behind it, and then see how this is playing out in our everyday movement. So, or how we're seeing this play out across since the election. Because again, it started in Korea, and now it's basically made its way here after the election. So I don't usually do a lot of, react to woke TikToks, but we're kind of going to do a little bit of this today, because if you didn't see like this one right here. So this woman posted on, I think it was on TikTok, but they said, when this is the only thing we have left to control ourselves. And if you're watching, okay, I don't know if I can play the music, but we're gonna cut the music. So the woman is allowing what looks to be her partner, her another woman, to cut and shave her head. I actually want to know what's this in the closet. Can anybody tell me what's in the closet over here? Because that's creepy in and of itself. But like, so this is it's completely giving Britney Spears 2007 vibes, when Britney I forget who said this, somebody else said this the other day, but it's like when Britney had a mental break and started and shaved her head and went kind of crazy. That's what this is giving. Yeah, and see, then kisses the other person. So kind of insane. Like, why are you doing this? This makes absolutely no sense. Like, why would you shave your head? Like, and the whole thing again is they're swearing off men, and they're like, and there's the whole thing where a lot of conservatives are going, okay, so us winning the election made liberal women, you know, promote abstinence. It made them, you know, go against promiscuity. A lot of them are saying, okay, good. A lot of them are taking themselves out of the dating market. What they will say is these liberal women are not going to be having children anymore. So there's people that are talking about getting their tubes tied. They're not going to be having children anymore. And it's kind of like conservatives are going, we're just going to repopulate the planet with conservative children. It's just going to get worse, or it's just going to get, you know, more in our favor. So great, go do that. We don't have to compete with you later on in our lives. But at the same time, and Maggie makes a really good point in her video. I was talking to Maggie about this the other day, and it's like, but that's not good for a healthy society. We shouldn't be saying good with this. We should be actually actively concerned that these people have been so brainwashed into believing that this is like the end of the world, that one election is like the end of their sanity in their life. But this is the thing, is they are in a cult. Like they are in a cult. And so the cult has lost control. And so they feel like they have to do this for empowerment. So, yeah, it's absolutely insane. So here's another one. This one's, yeah. See, this is a person that says, feminists, please shave your heads like this so we know who you are. Fight the patriarchal beauty standards by smelling bad, growing hair, and refraining from brushing your teeth. Do it. It's not good for society to have such a... Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. But it's not good for society to have people who have had such a mental breakdown over the results where 51% of the people in the United States selected Donald Trump. Like, this is... I think that fact actually might be the worst for them. They're like, they realize that 51% of the people don't agree with them. They are not in the majority anymore. They are losing their grip and control on everything. And the media has pushed these narratives that this is the end of democracy. They have fear-mongered for so long that this is going to be so bad. So I blame the media just as much as I blame anything else. But here's this one.
Just woke up this morning feeling spicy. You guys feel spicy? Because I do. All right. I don't know how to use this thing. Let's see what happens. Is this cutting off hair? I'm going to have to cut it shorter than that. Does it down, right? I think that this is too... Oh, it's getting hair. Let's see here. Maybe I got to cut it. Here we go. Have I given up on America? Yeah. Also given up on coloring this hair because, right? Fuck coloring my hair. Fuck having my hair be long and luxurious. Fuck all that shit. Fuck being skinny. Fuck being hot. Fuck being all the things that the patriarchy wants us to be. Because clearly, they don't give a shit about us. And I'm talking to you, too. Those of you ladies who have the internalized misogyny required to do what you did. Minorities who are so scared of a woman in power that you'd rather cozy up to the white man just in case some crumbs fall off his plate so that you may eat from them. Yes, scraps. I don't know how to work this thing, but I'm on my way. I'm going to figure it out. Let's just do some cutting. You know why? Because this is taking too long. Here we go. Short hair we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We're cutting it off because fuck you. That's why. You think I'm crazy? Me too. Crazy. Just like all the women before me who were crazy. So fucking crazy. You know what? It's been a day. It's been a year. It's been 9 years, 8 years, whatever it may be. Around this time, 8 years ago, it's one of the worst times of my life. It's when my life fell apart. Not because of this. Don't get too excited. I'm just talking about regular life stuff I talk about on here. But trust me, I understand. I've heard the message loud and clear. We all have. Now women are going to have to just refuse to participate. Sorry, if you're a man, I will not be responding to you. If you are a man, I will not be talking to you. I am going to be promoting the 4B movement from here on out. Here, I don't care. Better scissors. My hair, cutting it all off. Probably painting a target on my back here, but whatever. At least I live in a state right now that has civil rights still. And we voted out Brandon Williams. Fuck that guy. Back to Texas from whence he came. We also voted yes on Prop 1, which will codify into law some equal right protections in the New York State Constitution. So we did that at least. I don't know what the other fuckers are doing, but I don't know, man. We are embarrassing on the world stage. Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
I think she's
Seriously?
embarrassing
Oh
on
my
the
God, your
world
hair
stage.
forever. It's kind of fun. All right, we're just going to keep chopping away here because this is literally going to take forever if I don't. Cut all the hair off. You know why? I'm not going to dye it anymore. I'm going to try and grow it out anymore. I'm not going to style it anymore. Fucking done. I will not be giving my money to the beauty industry anymore. I will not be giving my money to anyone that helps support misogyny and the patriarchy and keeping women down and making women think that we need to look a certain way or be a certain way or fuck you. Fuck you. Women, fucking stop dating men. Stop having sex with men. Stop talking to men. Divorce your husbands. Leave your fucking boyfriends. Leave them. They don't give a shit about you. And I promise you, come over to this side. I will bake cookies. I will shave your head if you want me to, depending on how this turns out. Do a little more trimming before we buzz it. Where's my chop it? My hair.
Yeah. That's yeah, I think where was it? V1 says I'm embarrassed just watching her. Me too. Me too. It's really fascinating because she says she opens so much and she expresses so much of the liberal thought in that one short video, right? She literally explains that she hates minorities because they did not stay, like she realizes that she doesn't own minorities, she doesn't own their vote, and so she goes into racism and says that, you know, basically because they didn't, you know, vote the way that she wanted to, she wanted them to, that that they are, you know, basically dead to her. So I guess she's racist on top of misogynistic, or it's not misogynistic, it's wait, what is it? It's what's the other one? It's not misogyny, it's, I'm going crazy. I don't remember. It's women hating men. She's hating men. She's not gonna buy into the patriarchy. So she's basically saying that it cracks me up when she says I'm not gonna keep my hair long and luxurious. Your hair was not long. I don't know what, I don't think it was luxurious. I don't know. I didn't really see. She's like, I'm not gonna, you know, stay skinny. You're not skinny, or hot. You're not hot. Yeah, you're not really doing anything. And then to advocate for, you know, women to leave their husbands, and that's not good for society. It's not good for women. It's not. You know, women and men are different and they complement each other in many ways. To advocate for people to do this over politics, this is, again, they're trying to, like, the 4B is now like a 4B cult. Like, they're trying to bring people into the cult. Cults try to separate people from their family, which is one of the other things that we've been seeing. We see a lot of now, and I've been getting messages and calls from people that their family members are, you know, have like cut them off. Like, they're no longer speaking, like people are no longer speaking to them if they voted for Trump, or we're seeing this a lot. And it's like, cults do this. Cults advocate that you cut people out of your lives. They advocate that you cut your families out of your lives, and only participate in cult activities. The woke is the cult. And and they are losing their last shred of reality and humanity in this. They are towards the end of their rope. This election was a referendum on DEI principles. We've been watching businesses and corporations across the countries get rid of their DEI programs because they're starting to realize that go woke, go broke. Woke is broke. They're starting to wake up to these facts. And this was the last straw. This entire administration, this was the DEI administration. You have Kamala Harris, who was the least likable presidential candidate in 2020, who didn't even get a single vote for president in the 2020 primary, dropped out before that. But because of her status as a minority woman, she was picked to be the vice president of the United States. And that's not just me saying that. Literally, Joe Biden vowed when he took the nomination, he vowed that his vice presidential candidate would be a black woman. He said it, not that's just saying it right there. Then you have Pete Buttigieg, who was an awful transportation secretary. His only job before this was that it didn't even. His job before this was the small town mayor of South Bend, Indiana, that did not qualify him to be there's no experience there to qualify him to be the transportation secretary. And usually you would think that the transportation secretary would be one of those jobs that you know, it kind of just runs itself. You don't have to do a whole lot. It's not a big department to actually run. But somehow we had transportation shortages. We had ships stuck off the coast of California, not being able to get in because we couldn't move supplies. We had stock outages across the country, and it was because of Pete Buttigieg. We had train derailments, many of them, like the one in Ohio that spilled contaminants all over the place, and they didn't. There was no urgency for Pete Buttigieg to go down to Ohio to see the damage while they were still telling people that it was fine. You have Sam Britton, who was then put in charge of the nuclear waste disposal, who ended up being, the non-binary guy who was stealing people's clothes at airports. You have Rachel Levine in the Health and Human Services that advocates for children to be sterilized. And as all the other countries around the world, and the data is starting to show that affirming a child's gender at a young age does not necessarily it actually has no effect on suicidality. They're ignoring that data, but because Rachel Levine is trans, then it goes into the only reason why they're there is to push the trans agenda. Oh, who else? I know there's more. Oh, I mean, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, is a lesbian black woman who was awful at her job. But it was so important to have a lesbian and a black woman behind that podium. They said it. You can go back and look at the transcripts. They said it. They celebrated the fact that she was a lesbian trans woman or lesbian black woman when she came in. This administration pushed DEI principles. They didn't do a good job, and they failed. And then these women are all freaking out, yet the first person that Donald Trump picks for his staff, his chief of staff, is the first woman to ever serve in that position. And he didn't choose her because she's a woman. He chose her because of her merits. See, this is the thing, is DEI is racist, it is sexist, it is homophobic, because if you're picking somebody based on characteristics, immutable characteristics like that, and not by the content of their actions, of their qualifications, then that is wrong. Choose people for their jobs based on their qualifications. It's as simple as that. You will win out every single time. And to have the racism of low expectations that minorities just can't measure up, which is what they're saying when they push these DEI principles, they have to change the game, and they have to lower expectations so that you can get more minorities into positions of power. That is wrong. That is still racism. It's racism of low expectation. It's bigotry of low expectation to think that a gay person needs a handout, and it's some, their gender or their sexuality or their race or any of that should be just the fact that it's even celebrated when there's the first woman here, first lesbian there, the first trans person, there. That just shows you that I don't care. I don't care about these immutable characteristics. It doesn't really say anything about a society. So there's my rant for the night. But here's the deal with this. You want to talk about now, finally, what we're seeing is other women are now coming out and taking these people to task. Women who have cancer, women who have alopecia. This is one woman who says, fuck your 4B movement. You're fucking crybabies. Get your fucking lives together. I'm so sick of this shit. Got it? There are some of us that have no choice. I had cancer and chemo and I have to shave my head. And so now people that have cancer and chemo and have to shave their head are being associated involuntarily with this woke 4B movement. Listen to what she has to say.
How's it going? I'm going to be a little blunt here. I'm an Aries. Let me do it. These 4B movement women that I've seen shaving their heads, you're fucking crybabies. Get your fucking lives together. I am so sick of this shit. Got it? There are some of us that have no choice. I had cancer and the chemo, and I had to shave my head. Do you think I wanted to take my down to my back hair and shave it off? No, I didn't. Do you think the person with alopecia wanted to shave off their head or lose their eyebrows and have to paint them on every day? No, they didn't. You know what my favorite part also about your delusion, your little 4B movement crybabies, is that none of us chose this. You're choosing this. You're actively choosing to do this on your own, okay? We did. You're lumping us in with your crowd of people. When we go out in public, people are going to wonder if we're part of your crazy. We were just living our lives, minding our own business, being beautiful the way we are currently in our lives, not shaven and ugly like you're assuming when you shave your head we're going to be shaven and ugly. So, back to the delusional, and you're fucking stupid. Get your shit together. Grow your hair back out. Stop being a crybaby. Those of us that don't have a choice in this matter, we'll live with it. We're doing it. We don't need you adding to our depression and the mix.
I feel this. If you've watched my content for, well, first of all, bravo. That was very well said. But if you've watched my content for any period of time, if you've read my article, I wrote an article very similar to this before about how I feel this. This is the same way that, transsexualism was co-opted by the queer transgender crowd, the queers and the transgender. We were co-opted. They came in, they took over, and they've associated people like me with people like that on the left. They've lumped us in with them. And it's not right. But I gotta say, I don't know how many of us there are left. I have to think that most transsexuals who are just wanting to live our lives is getting to be fewer and fewer. And those of us and those that have decided to stay offline. They're not in the trans circles and stuff like this because listen, I've seen it. I have covertly been in the trans support groups to try to just keep a state of where the trans community is at. Kind of surprised they never kicked me out. Think I'm getting kicked out pretty soon because I think they figured it out. But I just, again, I think that's just the online minority still. The people that are just living their lives are not in these support groups where they need community. They're not on Twitter. You know, there's a few of us that are on Twitter making things happen, but I do see a lot of this fear being pushed, and which kind of brings into the next point, right? So, Alejandra Carabao, I don't know how to say her last name. I don't care. Queer on Twitter, trans activist. Her account is now locked down. If you notice that now too, though. She has been one of these biggest pushers of fear for a very long time. Okay. So she's pushing this narrative now, and I saw it again today. There's some stats out there. I don't know if it was from a reliable source or not, but she says there's stories. The stories I'm hearing are horrific. I've had to talk some people down. Providers are being inundated with attempts by trans youth, and the trans community is in a state of absolute crisis right now. Andy No says, without evidence, the trans activists claim there have been mass trans suicides in the U.S. in reaction to the election. Again, haven't heard this, haven't seen any credible data on this, not sure if it's true or not, but doesn't matter if it's true or not. Here's the thing. I said, if this is true, then it's actually people like Alejandra who are the ones with blood on their hands. They have caused a vulnerable population to have so much fear of the Trump admin. And this is the same thing that's happening with women and other people that are in the leftist woke cult. They have caused these people to have so much fear that they are doing this. It's their fault. It's not Trump's fault for being open about who he is. It's not 51% of the population who voted for Trump. It's the fear mongers in the media. It's the fear mongers like Alejandra. It's them who has caused these people such mental distress that they are so scared that they think this is the way out. And I want to say this very clear to anybody who is in my audience who may just be stumbling on my channel. Don't do it. Definitely go seek help if you are feeling this way. If you are feeling like you are in a state of mental crisis, go seek help. Call the national hotline, which I don't have pulled up, but do it. But here's the thing. Also understand, call 988. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen McMahon. Call it. But I do want to tell you right now, there is nothing to be that afraid of. If you take the time, you watch what happens, nothing's really going to change. If you're an adult, nothing's going to change. If you're a child, you have to wait till you're 18. Like, that's what's going to happen. And you can't play in male, and you can't be a male playing in female sports. That's it. They're not going to make like being trans illegal. They're not going to, like, the federal government doesn't even have that ability. It's a states' rights issue, okay? And even if they did have the ability, they would have to get 60 votes in the Senate. Again, this is why we need to abolish the Department of Education, right? Because we don't, like, our population doesn't even understand civics. In order to pass any of these like big pieces of legislation, like these sweeping pieces of legislation, you need 60 votes in the Senate. Republicans don't control 60% of the Senate. They don't. And so the filibuster is in play. They're not going to be able to get to these sweeping changes that you think. Like, in almost everything that's being talked about, people are saying, oh, they're going to make it so that you can't change your identification. You can't change your birth certificates. You can't change all this stuff. No. Here, hold on, though. And this is what I told that NBC reporter a few weeks ago. States controlled their IDs. The federal government does not control your driver's license. Every state under the 10th Amendment controls their own driver's license. The federal government can't change that. The only ID that the federal government has control over changing or not changing is actually your passport. It's only your passport. And even if they change your passport, let me ask you, what's the worst thing that happens if say I have to have mail on my passport? What's the worst thing that happens? I don't get to go to Saudi Arabia for vacation. Nothing happens. Like you can't go places that would not want you there because you're trans. Why would you go and risk it in the first place? Nothing happens. And listen, Donald Trump was the first pro-gay president coming into office. He's hosted gay wedding ceremonies at his house in Mar-a-Lago. He hosted and spoke at the Log Cabin Republicans Lincoln what is it? Spirit of Lincoln Awards, where Melania Trump got a Spirit of Lincoln Award. Donald Trump is a friend of the gays. Donald Trump's friendship with Caitlyn Jenner shows that, this isn't going to, nothing's going to happen to trans adults. Nothing. There's nothing to fear. Nothing. And if you think that there is, or if it's going to be at a state level, and if it is at your state, you know what? You can move to a state where the laws are different. You can move to California where the laws are different. But I'm telling you, there is nothing that is so dangerous to you that you have to worry about a Trump administration. There's not very much you can do. Again, stuff that I agree with, you can get mental health coverage for gender dysphoria as a minor, but you shouldn't be allowed to transition and sterilize yourself or have surgeries as a minor. And these are in the transitioning of children and the males and female sports, those two issues, over 70% of the population agrees on that you shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's not a controversial issue. That is a standard standard opinion of the matter. The country doesn't hate you. And so it's like that's like a 60% opinion, where something like 60% of the country is fine with you. 60% of the country actually supports you. Whereas like most of the rest of the country is like, whatever. I may not agree with it, but I can get along with you. Like, this is the thing, is there was a post yesterday which was talking about Caitlyn Jenner, like why Caitlyn Jenner would support Donald Trump when MAGA hates them. I'm like, it's really crazy, because I go to a Trump rally, and I have more people at that Trump rally that know who I am, stop me in the hallway, wanting to take pictures. I do events with Chloe Cole across the country. I I do events with Chloe across the country, and there's a lot of MAGA people in the audience. People wearing Trump hats. They always come up and give me hugs and want to take pictures. And I argued in my response to this too, because it's kind of blowing up today. But my argue in this response was that, you know, I arguably am probably one of the trans people in the one of the most well-known trans people in the country that interacts with the general MAGA population on a regular basis because of the events that I do. And I say this because, like, I'm not ultra famous. I'm not like Caitlyn Jenner, where I'm not interacting with the general population, where she's not interacting with like the general trans population. Same with Blair White. Blair White's not interacting with the general MAGA population. She can't. I mean, she's too well known that people know she would never be able to move in a crowd like that. So for me, I get to move within a crowd and experience what it's like to be just a regular trans person inside of a MAGA crowd. And then there's a lot, like I said, more people came up to me, take pictures and give me hugs and everything like that. And I mean, you saw the pictures a couple weeks ago. You know, I met and talked with Riley Gaines. I talked with Seth Dillon at that rally, and it's all good. It's all good. Like, these people don't hate trans people. They don't. And there's a lot we can work on and get stuff, you know, work on together and come to some common ground and figure some stuff out. But yeah, there's not anything that you need to fear in this with the Trump presidency, in my opinion. I'm more worried about some of the people that he's picking. And here's another one. This is just coming. This is still, the leftists are showing their true colors again. So Amala wrote, Trump won the election. Now I'm seeing leftists say they want to deport every Latino that voted for him. They want to end interracial relationships with white people, and they want black men who voted for him to die at the hands of police. Yet Trump voters are the racist ones. Remember what we talked about before. They are showing their true colors because people, because the people that they see that don't, that they can't control, that, you know, they don't, that they can't control, they're bigoted towards them. And I actually, it's funny because they're saying this stuff, and yeah, people are tired of the identity politics. And it's funny because they're saying all this stuff, and they want to end the interracial marriages, which is crazy to me. And actually, I'm like, when I responded underneath Amala's tweet, I said, you know, somebody better tell Kamala Harris, somebody better tell AOC, somebody better tell Ilhan Omar, somebody better tell all the other black women in Congress on the left that are married to white or dating white men. It's crazy to me that this is what's coming out, but it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. But it is. Here's the thing: is the left is finally waking up to this, right? And it may be too little, too late, but they are finally waking up to this. So here's even David Axelrod. And I can't. One second. I have to reset this. Oh. Present screen. Yeah, my screen the sound cut out like it does sometimes. So here's David Axelrod talking about it.
You've heard me over the last few days. I do have concerns about the way the Democratic Party relates to working class voters in this country. The only group that Democrats gained with in the election on Tuesday was white college graduates, and among
The white saviors.
there was a significant decline. The only group they Democrats won among were people who make more than $100,000 a year. You can't win national elections that way, and it certainly shouldn't be that way for a party that fashions itself as the party of working people. So I think he has a point. Mike knows this because we've been talking about it. You can't approach working people like missionaries and say, we're here to help you become more like us. There's an unwritten, kind of unspoken disdain, unintended disdain in that. I think Biden has done, programmatically some good things for working people, but the party itself has increasingly become a smarty pants, suburban, college-educated party, and
it's so funny because he said exactly what I said. The reason why I'm written up, and the reason why the Southern Poverty Law Center has mentioned my name is because I say that there's this section of like the transition's not like it's not happening in mass in the hood because it's mostly upper middle class white progressive women who are transitioning their children for clout because they've been told for so long that they are an oppressor and there's no way that they can escape that oppressor status. And so what's a way to opt into an oppressed status? Have a trans child. It's critical race theory and queer theory together that's what he's blaming it on. He just doesn't know that's what he's blaming it on, but that's what he's talking about. That's exactly what he's talking about when he's talking about this stuff. Like, I've been talking about it. Southern Poverty Law Center hates that I've been talking about it, but I think that's more of a badge of honor when they write you up. So here's Byron Donalds, who is obviously he's a Trump surrogate. He helped. I met Byron actually on the floor of the CNN debate. The Joe Biden CNN debate. I met him on the spinning room floor. And so here's what he said, and he delivers the same message.
What did you hear at those events that gives you an understanding of why there was that shift in the electorate?
I heard the same thing talking to black men that I heard talking to anybody across our country. How are we going to get ahead and make more money, be able to pass something on to our children? How are we going to secure this southern border? It's not fair that you have illegals coming in, getting gas cards, getting hotel stays and all the like. That's not right. And actually, you'll notice that the city of New York has now announced they're not giving out any more food cards, these food cards. That's because of Donald Trump and the fact that he won. So what you heard from black men, you heard also from Hispanic men. You heard also from, in part, suburban women. They want a country that is safe. They want an economy that is thriving. And Donald Trump is going to deliver on all of those promises.
Well, one of the places that he made up a lot of ground with was.
So yeah, even Charlemagne is waking up to this fact as well. Here's what he said. Oh, did I lose my sound again?
What do you make of the demographics here? I mean, Trump got 1 out of every 3 voters of color.
No.
Yeah.
1 out of
33%.
No. Really?
Yeah.
When you say color, you mean like black, brown, everything. Oh, well, I think that, people have different issues that they care about. And I think that there's nobody out there that's a single issue voter. I think some of this is a backlash to race and gender and identity politics. But man, most people, they just care about keeping food on their table and keeping a roof over their head. And I think sometimes people forget about that. I think that they forget about, the working class. And for whatever reason, Donald Trump speaks to the grievances of the working class in a real way. And I keep telling folks, people will forget what you did. They'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And when you go back to 2020, even though it was a pandemic and it was COVID,
yeah,
people don't care. All they know is they got stimulus checks, with his name on it, and that's what they remember. And so people think about that. When you have conversations with folks, they be like, yo, I remember how 2020 felt. And they think that they're going to feel that, you know, in this next term.
Yeah, I mean, how do you explain? I mean, he obviously swept the battleground states. He drove up, you know, turnout around the country in Republican areas, but he did much better than he had done before in places like Chicago, Brooklyn, Queens.
That's it. People are tired of identity politics. He's right. People are worried about the cost of eggs. They're worried about inflation. I think the average person understands that we are the least divided country than we've ever been. Like when you have unions refusing to endorse because their union members basically full on endorse Donald Trump. You have city council leaders and Muslim city council leaders in Dearborn, Michigan endorsing Donald Trump. You have Catholics endorsing Donald Trump. You have every demographic, because it's not about the demographic. It's about what they're going to do for the country. The left wants to make it seem like we're this racist, bigoted country. But we're not. And I think finally people are seeing that, and it's coming to a head. And it is interesting, you know, the Harris campaign played this as if it was a vibes election. She was the party of good vibes and joy. Where that joy went away, actually, the joy didn't go away. It actually moved over to Donald Trump. And I tell you this because I think this because, like, when you go to a Trump rally and you look on the internet and you see on TikTok people doing the Donald Trump dance, like Donald Trump became a TikTok dance move. The YMCA TikTok dance move had people standing, it had people going, and it became a thing. Now, if Kamala wanted to run on a campaign of joy and vibes, she should have come up with her own TikTok dance, but she couldn't. And then she started yelling at people. And then Joe Biden undercut her. Joe Biden's supposed to meet with President Trump tomorrow to discuss the transition plan. He said it's going to be good. He's going to meet with him tomorrow, and it's going to be good. And I honestly, I feel like they're going to laugh because Joe Biden completely undercut Joe. When Joe Biden put on that Trump hat, that was kind of when it started to become clear that he was not happy at how being forcefully removed from the ballot. He wasn't happy about that. He said he was going to try to bring some unity to people, so he put that Trump hat on, which is a huge no-no. Obviously, you're not going to do that. That's kind of endorsing, you know, the other side. And then he called, he knowingly, I would think knowingly, maybe not. He's not all there. He did say some crazy stuff the other day to some reporter, but he kind of knowingly called down Trump supporters all garbage, knowing that was going to be a huge backlash. And then the biggest signal of all was Joe Biden wore a bright red, suit to go vote. Like, it was Republican red to go vote. Now tell me that's not just an FU to the Democrat establishment and FU to Kamala Harris. And then it kind of was almost confirmed. I didn't see the whole video, so I can't really say, but there was speculation. It looked like Joe Biden was giving Kamala the cold shoulder at the Veterans Day memorial event yesterday. So I don't know. I can imagine there's some bad blood. I mean, who wants to be, kicked off of the election? And here's the thing. So then you have Joy Reid on election. This is on election night, just not even understanding it. not even understanding what's thanks V1 for stopping by. Not even like there's zero self-reflection amongst a bunch of people saying that America failed women. That's what the twinks were saying. You know who I'm talking about, the twinks, the twink creators. They were all saying that it was like the same post. America failed you. America failed women. 51% of the people is not failing anything. 51% of the people win. And yeah, but then Joy Reid.
And I think it's important to say that, anyone who has experienced or been in the United States for any period of time and experienced this country's history and knows it cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president, let alone a woman of color. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had
A flawless campaign. I mean, maybe, just maybe, you should take some self-reflection and realize that nobody cares what elitist celebrities say. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about what endorsements of that type. They're not people that are going to have any influence in the administration. And like, look, this was the night of the election. And obviously other people like Charlemagne and stuff like that have started to pull back this narrative that it wasn't she was a black woman. It wasn't she was a woman of color. It wasn't any of that. It was because people are tired of this identity politics. And so Joy Reid's delusional, obviously, but it's interesting because almost everybody I know, it's like, it's not that they wouldn't vote for a woman or a woman of color. The first woman, they would vote for a woman if it's the right woman. And honestly, it's probably going to be a Republican that is going to be the next president. It's probably, and this is the thing, is I would have voted for Tulsi Gabbard in 2020, who is a woman of color. I would have voted for her in 2020. And I will vote for her in 2028, probably. So, I mean, honestly, it could be Tulsi Gabbard, could be the first woman president in 2028. We'll see if she runs, though. But I would vote for her. There's a lot of Republican women I wouldn't vote for. There's most neocon Republican, any neocon Republican, man or woman, I'm not voting for you. Tulsi Gabbard, I would probably vote for. We'll see how this next 4 years plays out. But you see that Joy Reid, saying that at MSNBC. Apparently now MSNBC is their ratings are tanking, and so they're about to be sold. Somebody posted that because they said it would be Elon has the opportunity to do the funniest thing by MSNBC because they're about to be sold because their ratings are in the tank. And then there's also this the CNN has announced that they're going to start laying off some of their top stars as ratings continue to tank. And I don't know, I didn't read the article, but Anderson Cooper would be a huge star to be cut. I forget what her name is. She's the one that's very unbiased too. She could be cut. So I guess that they're looking at cutting all their stars. And it's probably because, and CNN tried to pull it back from the brink a little bit towards the end of the election, right? So I talked about this. When you even lose CNN, Kamala Harris was losing the CNN vote, and they were actually starting to be like throw up some warning signs. But I don't know. All right, just kind of close stuff out. So if y'all saw some good things happening, we'll start with the good things. Donald Trump, during his transition team, announced that he is not going to be asking Mike Pompeo or Nikki Haley to join his administration. And this is a good thing. Neocons need to be out, gone. Gone from everything. Now, apparently, the dog killer, Kristi Noem, is going to be the DHS secretary, which I can't believe that Trump is going to try to revitalize her political career. That makes no sense. But here we are. I don't know what her qualifications for DHS are. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't get that one. I also don't like Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State. I know a lot of people had some issues with Rick Grenell, but I know Rick. I've talked to Rick before in the past, especially when I was doing some articles for the Post Millennial, and I think he would have been a better Secretary of State. He's got the qualifications to do the job. Marco Rubio is a neocon who basically is going to fully back Israel. And so, unfortunately, it looks like we do have some pro-war on the global. Yeah, he has war hawk vibes. You're absolutely right. I don't get it. But it is what it is. Yeah. I want to, and then some other news. If you saw yesterday, no, it was a couple days ago, I saw Bitcoin cross 80,000. Bitcoin's about to cross 90,000. I'm not going to give any financial advice. I've seen some people I know, some of my friends, they're saying they're not giving financial advice either, but they said it might be a good time to sell, where I don't think it's a good time to sell. From what I'm reading, Bitcoin could cross 100,000 by the end of the year, and they're talking possibly 200,000 by the end of 2025. If you buy now, it could be worth a lot, but it's a gamble. I'm not, like I said, I do not give financial advice. I'm not very good at I'm not good at individual stocks or anything like that. But so when Bitcoin started to drop, so I was buying up when Bitcoin started to drop. I was doing what you're supposed to do, and I was buying in increments down the dip, right? So you buy the dip, and then when it comes back up, you start gaining more money and momentum going back up. So you just buy the dip, and you'd never actually sell off. So if it started going down tomorrow, I'd start buying the dip again because it's going to go back up. But I don't know if it's the right time. I mean, I don't know if it's the right time to start buying if you never bought any Bitcoin. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not the greatest. I'm just kind of continue to invest into something, and because it will generally make its money back. And yeah, so Bitcoin's doing good, and Trump has talked about buying up Bitcoin reserves, and that's one of the reasons why it's going up. So using buying up Bitcoin reserves for to back the US dollar with, which is actually an interesting idea, and it will help Bitcoin's price. So I like crypto quite a bit. So I think it's the future. It's where we're going to be using crypto and monetarily. So it'll be good. One of the other things I want to kind of point out too, in the whole Maha movement, and actually I gotta stop this real quick. The whole Maha movement, if you guys have watched me at all, I've kind of talked a little bit about this. RFK is somebody who he's talked about this now twice in the last couple weeks, and it's talking about veterans being able to use psychedelic therapy. As somebody who has used psychedelics to, let's say, cleanse my mental health as a veteran who has anxiety, service-connected anxiety and insomnia, I can tell you, in my experience, but not just my experience, my anecdotal experience, as well as clinical research, has started to show that psychedelic therapy has really been beneficial for mental health, especially veterans with PTSD. So we send people off to war, and then we don't give them the best treatment. We just throw them on SSRIs, which make them numb. And I'm a huge advocate against SSRIs. I know a lot of people that use them, and I'm not saying don't use them if you really need them, but they shouldn't be like, people get put on SSRIs and then they stay on SSRIs forever. They should be a short term to get you into a good place, to get you through the darkest spot, to get you to a place where you can work through your issues. It's like the low point where you should be going on this stuff. God damn it. But so I'm very excited to see somebody close to the administration talking in, hopefully RFK is talking with the DHS people, or the Department of Health and Human Services people when he gets it, when Trump gets in, to work on, exploring and getting, because pharma, this is the problem, is big pharma doesn't want psychedelic therapy because big pharma doesn't want psychedelic therapy because it cuts them out of the equation. It cuts them out of the mental health game. It cuts them out completely. And like I said, I can tell you for psychedelics, when I've done them in the past, have really remapped my brain into a point where they're, to me, they're super beneficial. I've seen so many great benefits from them personally. And so I think it's worth exploring, and it's exciting to see that that they're talking about exploring. I gotta cut this out again. Gosh, darn. Okay. Let's just play this clip though. And will be it.
One of the things that I'm excited that Bobby Kennedy is interested in this as well is psychedelic therapy for veterans. I think if there's a way to understand the benefits of psychedelic therapy for everybody, the real pathway is through veterans, who I think are the most needing of it, the most deserving of it, the most neglected in terms of just the horrors that they experience, and having to carry this around their mind. And that there's a way that many people have experienced relief, and it's not available to them. And it's not something that's dangerous. It's not something that's addictive. You literally can't even eat enough psilocybin to kill yourself. It's not even, you can't do it. You wouldn't be able to consume it.
Yeah, and that's true. It's impossible to be addicted on because you can't take it every day. It works. You have to let it process out of your body completely before you can take another dose. Mushrooms themselves, so psilocybin has been noted to be by Vice, by multiple organizations, that continuously listed as the least dangerous drug in the world for years and years and years. And it's not for everybody, I will say this, but because if you have a predisposition in your family to schizophrenia, then it can cause psychosis, which is not good. But again, you have to have proper screening before you do it, which is why it's important to get it into the hands of doctors who can use it for psychotherapy. Like LSD psychotherapy has been known to cause it's a great, psychedelics are a great cure for stuff, have been known to cure alcoholism. It's not like a foolproof, and because they won't say it, but it's been known to cure alcoholism. It's been known to help tremendously with PTSD, but not just PTSD. They say people with severe depression that use LSD psychotherapy, 3 sessions with a therapist using LSD, working through your issues. And it's not like a fun experience. It's working through your issues. But going through this, 3 sessions have lasting benefits for over a year. And the reason why they say over a year is because they hit the year mark, and then it was still having benefits. And so they were still waiting from the last I read about it. But this is the thing, is you can have these breakthroughs, and it should be administered and correctly monitored by therapists. But it's not even allowed to be done in a clinical setting in most for everybody. And this is where I believe that adults should have the right to try experimental treatments for any reason. If you want to try psychedelic therapy for any reason, you should be allowed to. I don't care what the FDA says. If you want to do LSD, and so that's the thing is I know a lot of people, I have a lot of friends who are on SSRIs, and people tell me this all the time because I talk about this quite a bit. People that are on SSRIs that wish that they could try, psychedelic psychotherapy, because under the watchful eye of and working through it with a therapist, they would like to try the more natural method rather than using the big pharma drugs. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox there. It's something that I'm passionate about. It's something, if you followed me for a while, I've done content on this before in the past. It just doesn't make sense to me why something could be so beneficial. It does make sense. I know why. It's because big pharma doesn't, they can't make money off of it, and they can't deal with the fact that, like you said, like Jenny McMahon said, it solves the problem problem of PTSD better than big pharma can. And they can't have that because they can't monetize it. So thank you all for joining. If you made it this far, click that like and subscribe button. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.